Hi, this is Amanda Lynn from Speaking English Today, and I have a great lesson for you on vocabulary that you can use to sound more professional and more natural in business settings. So there's a free worksheet that goes along with this, and if you would like to download it, just go to the link below and you can follow along with the worksheet. Either way, get ready because we're going to get into these professional vocabulary words. Okay, so the first phrase is come to fruition. Come to fruition. So this means to make an idea or a plan real, to make it happen. So if you have an idea that you want to do something or a plan or a project, you can make it happen. You can have that come to fruition. So I remember I had this huge project with my students. We were all going to make a book together. And so I had a class of 10 students and I had everyone make their own story to add to the book, or they could come up with several different stories, and it was all about their own culture. And so they came up with these traditional stories, and they put them together. They made it creative because they added their own ideas to it. And I had one of the students design the cover to the book and the back of the book. And we all had our own pictures in the front of it. And it really happened. I mean, the book looks so great today. So this whole idea came to fruition. And we even had it published in the school library so that other students could borrow this book and read it themselves. So that was a really great and amazing example of how an idea of having a book that meant something to the students came to fruition. And now you can look back on it and see about the students and their lives and their culture. And it was such an awesome project that really came to fruition. So our next phrase is start out, start out, start out. So this means to begin. Simple enough. So if you begin doing something, you start out by doing something. So let's say, for example, when you first start out learning English, I always tell people that you want to start out by learning pronunciation. A lot of people skip this really, really important step. And then later on, they have these pronunciation mistakes that they always make, and they know that they make these mistakes, but it's like, I don't want to say it's too late to fix them, but now it's so, so hard because they had been making that mistake many, many times. And they've been making this mistake so long now that it's kind of like permanently a part of their speech almost. So definitely, I always say you want to start out by learning pronunciation. And you can also start out a meeting by talking about a certain topic. So if I had a meeting together with people, I could say that, well, I would really like to start out by talking about this new issue that came up yesterday. So you can you can begin by talking about that. And you can even start out your day. You can begin your day. Uh, you could start out your day by doing something healthy, and maybe you don't want to start out by doing something that is going to make your day bad. Like maybe you don't want to start out the day by watching the news because that could stress you out. So that's our word, start out. Now, the next one is take off. And I have taught this phrase before, but I haven't taught this meaning. Take off is interesting because it means many different things. But today we're focusing on the meaning to become successful very quickly. I love this phrase, the meaning of this phrase, to become successful very quickly. So if you have a business that has really taken off, then that means that you had a business that became successful very, very quickly. And I hope that that's true for you. You can also have projects take off. Like if you're working on a project at your work and it just suddenly became really successful, you could say, well, luckily this project just took off. It was so great. Uh, it was really successful. And so that is take off. Next, we have the phrase end up. Now, you've probably heard this before because this is used a lot. So, end up means to get to a place, a situation, or a condition, but you didn't plan to get there, or you didn't expect that you would get there. So, usually this is told in stories. You say, I ended up somewhere in a story. So let's say, for example, you are traveling around and you don't have a set plan. You don't you don't have a plan that you're going to be in a certain place at a certain time. You're just traveling spontaneously. So you could end up anywhere. So the place that you could be in, you could end up in any place, depending on how you felt that day. So also for situations. So you could work really, really hard. And this just recently happened to a friend of mine. You could work really, really hard on many different tasks and end up finding out that you did not have to do those tasks. Like my friend that's going through college right now, she had to do a lot of tasks. She thought she had to do a lot of tasks for homework, but she actually found out later that she didn't have to submit these things. It was just extra work that you didn't really have to do. So she ended up having all of that time that she had spent working on all of this really mean nothing because unfortunately the teacher was not going to grade that. So you don't want to end up in that situation. And you can also end up in a condition. So let's say you want to run a marathon. So you want to practice running for a really long time. Well, you could end up losing a lot of weight because of your goal of running the marathon. So you didn't plan to lose the weight. It's something that happens as a result of doing the practice. So that is our phrase end up. Next is on the fence. So when you have to make a decision and you really don't know what to do or what to choose, you are on the fence at that moment. So this happens a lot in our lives. And you might even be experiencing that right now. So I was on the fence about where to move. So I've been traveling quite a lot, and every time I plan to travel to a new place, I'm really on the fence about which place I should choose. So, how about you? When was the last time you were on the fence? All right. And the next phrase is right off the bat. So, right off the bat means immediately or at the very beginning of something. So anytime it's immediately or at the very beginning. So Right off the bat, in this lesson, I talked to you about the phrase come to fruition. So I started by immediately talking about that phrase. So, what are you going to do right off the bat after you finish watching this lesson? Next phrase is low hanging fruit. Low hanging fruit. So, this is to do the easiest work first that will have great results. So, anytime you're in a situation where you have a lot of things to work on or a lot of things to do, the easiest things that you could knock off your to do list, but will also give you really great results, those are the low hanging fruit. So, anytime that you're beginning a project, let's say that you have a month to do an entire project, you might want to begin with the low hanging fruit because those could be the easiest things you could do first and get a lot done before you have to then jump into the hard things. So, that is the low hanging fruit. Next is, and this is our last phrase for today, bring up. Bring up is to introduce an idea or a topic into a discussion. This is a really great phrase to use, especially when you're talking to people in a meeting or also in a social situation. So if you bring something up, it means you introduce that idea or that topic. So I remember when I was working at a school, there was one thing that was always brought up during our discussions and our meetings, and that was to show appreciation for other people. And this one person was really great at always making sure to bring this up because showing your appreciation for people is pretty important. And so she never forgot to bring that up during the meeting. And if you bring something up in a meeting, then maybe people will talk about that. And that could be something that could be discussed in the meeting. And when other people bring something up during a meeting, you can also uh, thank them and say, thank you for bringing that up because I haven't thought about that. And that's really important. So that is our last phrase, bring up. And if you would like to have extra practice with this, the worksheet is a really great tool for you to try practicing these phrases. So sometimes it's not enough just to learn the phrases. If you really want to use these phrases when you're speaking, then you want to try to learn how to use these phrases and start practicing them in your own life. So download that worksheet. It will help you step by step walking through how to really understand how to use these phrases and also give you practice in writing your own sentences. And I would also like to hear your sentences in the comments below. So please post them as well. Again, my name is Amanda Lynn from speakingenglishtoday.com, and thank you so much for watching this English video.